This is the annual meeting. In our bylaws and most nonprofits, once a year, they're required to come together and do a business meeting. So this is not our normal bi-monthly meetings. This is also part of our change. I think the last major change we're making, where we're moving to a calendar year rather than a physical year. So now we're going to end December 31st. And I always like to start with a moment of silence. Boy, especially watching the news lately, regardless of which part of the world you're looking at, we definitely want to be thankful for what we have. We want to be charitable with our time. Thank you for all attending today, for example. And we want to be hopeful for others. I don't have a great answer for a lot of things that are going on in the world, but we can certainly be thankful for what we have. Thank you. Meeting minutes. Roger or Ed, I think you're going to bring up the meeting minutes.
Yeah, I will, John. I had the agenda, but I'll bring up the minutes right away. Here we go.
So one of the things when you're retirees and you go, who's got the meeting minutes of a year ago? Nobody had them. But we do video these sessions, which makes it really nice to go back and recreate things or remember what you actually said or did. So here's the meeting minutes of this was in May, which was the old fiscal year process. We had the results of the election. We produced the annual report that this team produced, and we've shared that with Ann and Maria and others at PGE. And then we did a YouTube video to memorialize it. We've learned how to use YouTube and streaming devices thanks to Ed and Roger and others. Are there any changes to the meeting minutes that anybody can remember? Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye, aye.
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 A lot of people are muted. I don't know if you want to raise hands or have them unmute.
Aye.
Just ask
Captain.
for people that don't approve.
Well, it's just the board that approves.
Okay.
And I think all the board members, except Judy, are, well, maybe not.
Yep.
Anyway, we had a majority. I hear a majority approving the minutes.
Great.
Results of the election. Ed, is that going to be you taking that one on?
Yeah, John, it was, first off, I want to, even though it was pro forma and we knew the results ahead of time, we had 168 people cast ballots. So I want to express some appreciation for them taking the time to allow us to comply with our bylaws and have this election. And there were 5 candidates and 3 incumbents, Terry, myself, and Steve West, and then 2 new candidates, Jay and Minhan Tran, who's traveling, and each of us accumulated enough votes to be successfully elected. So the results are there on the screen, and thank you all for who did vote and help us achieve this requirement.
You're not sharing, Ed. Did you want to share that?
No, I thought it was on the screen, Roger. It was on my screen.
Yep.
And special welcome to Jay Tinker and Minhang Tran, who is traveling in New Zealand at the moment. But thank you both, really, from the bottoms of our hearts, for stepping forward and joining our board. So welcome.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to working with the board members and with the entire retiree group to continue to press on and add value for not just the current set of retirees, but the retirees to come as well over the course of the next couple of years. So thank you.
Thank you.
John, I think it's back to you.
Back to me. Okay, now I gotta find my meeting minutes or my agenda again. Hold on.
Is it the annual report?
Yes, thank you. Hold on. Ed, you're gonna bring up the annual report for me?
I'm working on it, John. Okay, all right. It's coming up.
It takes a team to do this.
No kidding. Well, and for Jay and others, we're using a Google Drive to share things. And boy, the amount of stuff we've collected over the last few years, it's always a problem of which folder did we put that in?
Yeah.
That sounds like the old days of work. I remember that having, finding stuff back in the regulatory department was challenging at times as well. Same issue.
Yep.
Exactly. Can you make that bigger?
Yeah, hang on, John. I gotta get back out and too many things on the screen here.
That's okay. The annual report was something that a few years ago, when PGE outsourced their HR programs and found that they no longer had a list of retirees, we reinvented ourselves, new website, new everything. And we decided that, gee, we're asking PGE for money. And even though it's a relatively small amount, we felt like we should write an annual report to our members, as well as let PGE know that their money is being well spent and that we're on it. And
Yeah.
sometimes when they give out money and you get no feedback, you stop getting the money. So for me, it was for two purposes: let the retirees know what's up, but also to let the officers know what's up.
Hang on.
So my report, part of this will be that we're now stable. I mean, it was a real interesting to start with a membership file of 0 and watch it grow. And now we're up around 900. The other thing that happened was Facebook went from pretty small to now, I think 600, 650, something like that. So we have grown our membership, and I think we've hit a stable point. You can scroll down. We do have officers. We went through and updated all our bylaws. So this reaching stability, I think, is the message in this annual report. And now we need to really look forward to what's next. Keep going down. The other important thing for Jay and the other people watching is this relationship of mutual advocacy, that we aren't advocates, totally just advocates for retirees as if we're negotiating with the company the way the union does. That kind of is us and them. We saw that our role would be more a relationship of mutual. Yes, we can bring to you problems we see from retirees, but yes, you could look at us as your advocates. That's recently been challenging because of the rate increases and the adjustments to discounts and things. But I think that is still a strong place for this organization to be, is a voice of mutual advocacy and not us and them. Recruitment intention, I think, is the future. We need to look at the fact that there are probably 2,000 retirees out there, or some number, that we have still not reached, or may decide, I want nothing to do with PG anymore. I know a few friends that go, nope, I'm done with that. I'm moved on to something else. So that's something that we can talk about in the future, but we have been able to add people as people retire, so to speak, off of our roles. Keep going. So advocacy, education has been interesting. Terry and the team have put together several educational webinars. I think that's what we want to call them, educational pieces for our retirees. We've also recorded them and put them out on YouTube. So one of the things we can look at is how to better use the social networking with our members, and the interaction, the activities have really done a interesting evolution to where we started out with one idea of what people might be interested in, and it's kind of evolved on its own to this list, but we're always looking for the new list. The pickleball one is really kind of taken off, as that has happened all the way across the country. So tennis is kind of okay, it's there, but the pickleball is the one that's really grown. So we always want to be open to getting people together, whether it's digital or whether it's activities that are physical. And I'm going to turn it over to Greg to talk about the future a little bit, and maybe mention our meetings with Anne and Maria over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so this, as John mentioned, this is our organization is relatively stable right now. We've obviously gone through some transitions as PGE's outsourced a lot of things, and have taken, as a board, we've taken, I think, more of an active role in maintaining the retiree organization. I think really our challenge at this point is not just maintaining what we have, but also looking into the future to see how things will remain the same or change. We got a very we're kind of in this transitional period of where a lot of us, I think, spent most of our careers or all of our careers with PGE, but now PGE is transitioning to a company that employees tend to move from place to place. So the retirees of the future are going to be different than the retirees that we're seeing now. So I think the key challenge for us is to be aware of that, and to adjust our organization to accommodate that, and to hopefully attract people that do either retire or leave PGE and are looking to maintain a relationship with people that they worked for over so many years. So, and I just want to reiterate that this what John has said about mutual advocacy, if I pronounce that right. We've had, in my tenure as vice president, I've been able, John and I have met with Maria, or actually Anne Mercereau and Leanne Sneath a couple of times, and actually Maria's been in one or two meetings, and they seem very pleased with and open to this relationship between PGE and the retirees, which is good. I think that's encouraging, and they've continued to and seem to be committed to helping us financially so that we can maintain our organization without charging membership fees or generating other sources of income. So that's been good. So I think pursuing that relationship is very important, and looking for ways that we can do things that have a positive impact on PGE, as well as communicating with PGE about challenges or concerns that our retirees might have, where PGE could help. So that's kind of where we are. Again, a solid organization moving into the future with a changing demographic of future retirees. So I'm confident as a board that we can react to that and adjust to that and move forward. So hopefully I didn't say too much, but that's kind of in a nutshell what I get from that paragraph in the annual report.
I want to also mention that the uniqueness of this organization, as we researched other utilities, electric utilities specifically, in looking for a similar organization so that we didn't have to reinvent the wheel, we really didn't find any that were a separate, nonprofit, self-sustaining, self-serving group like this. In fact, we've had people that tried to join that were PG Andy from California, because there's not that kind of group. It bodes well, I think, for the uniqueness of people wanting to come here to the Northwest and stay here. So we are not following in anybody else's footsteps, I guess. Is that, you think, Greg, that's what you found as well?
Yeah, actually, you're very right. I mean, in fact, people I've talked to that retired from other companies are actually surprised that we have this type of strong retiree group at PGE. So yeah, as John said, there's not a lot of opportunity to follow in other people's footsteps or learn what best practices are. I think we are in a position of actually generating that best practice, and so it's kind of a cool place to be. I think it's a unique opportunity for us.
Well, I'm happy to have some new perspectives of Jay and Minhan, because there's no risk to trying something, Jay, because there is no other model. We're inventing best practices as we go, is a great way that Greg has said it. So to the extent you bring new ideas, we are more than willing to try them. And if they don't work, not a problem. We'll go to the next one and try that.
That's it. You know, it's exciting that it's that way, right? It's we're not just simply recreating a wheel that's been created somewhere else. Again, I know the goal is to create value for retirees, current and future retirees. And so we can put our heads together, and I bet we can come up with a lot of new things and a lot of new ways to do that, and to find more retirees. John, you mentioned the roughly 2,000 that you think are out there in total. We've got a good membership base here to begin with, but we know that we can expand it further. I'm looking forward to doing that. So
Right.
I'll bring some new ideas to the table here going forward.
Oh boy.
Yay.
Awesome.
If you can bring that back up again, Ed, and look at the last page, and Carol can kind of give us a little quick overview of the financial document that was attached to that. There you go.
Okay, I actually have a different version. Let me just see if it's the same.
America to pay the next time.
Okay, it is the same. So,
Oops.
It went away,
Carol.
Ed.
Oh, that's the wrong. Hang on.
do you want me to share mine?
Stan and Lynn are trying to get in. They're having computer
Oh.
problems, and
Tell
I'm
you
trying.
what, let me share my screen, okay?
I've got it. It's there.
Okay, all right. Okay, so this is the forecast that was put into the annual report. This budget actually has been approved by the board. You'll note that certain categories have been changed because we haven't been spending money. Like the annual meeting used to be hosted on site by PGE, and it no longer is. COVID kind of killed it, but we realized that we're more likely to have participation from people that call into Zoom calls like this. People just don't want to travel anymore and meet in person. So we moved the money. The winter holiday luncheon has been costing us a little
Okay.
more.
That's good. Just put it on your list.
Okay, those can mute if you're not presenting, please mute yourself. Okay, so we moved the money to the holiday luncheon, and that's coming up on December 12th. I hope you'll all attend. It's going to be great, like it was last year, with wonderful food, great entertainment. The picnic is pretty consistent with our expenses. We have a new category now of educational webinars and videos. We had a couple presentations last year. One about wills and trusts was no cost to us, and the other was about financial investing and thinking about your future financially. The interest groups, we modified that a little bit because really the only interest group that is spending any money is the pickleball group, and that's for court rental. So there is money out there for interest groups that want to do something like hire a professional speaker. If we want somebody, let's say for the wine club, one of the winemakers from the winery to present to the group about what their experience has been making award-winning wines, and they charge a fee for that, we could do that because it's an educational presentation. Of course, trying the wine afterwards, that's on your own. Insurance, we kept the same for several years. And again, these are projections. We're forecasting 25, 26, and 27. We've broken it out a little bit. Website annual fee, communications, that would be the hard copy mailings, digital social media, the Zoom, which we're on now. MailChimp is the email platform that sends notifications out to the members. So you'll notice that the projected expenses remain the same. Our ask of PGE is going to go up the next few years simply because they had been giving us, and tell me if I'm wrong because I haven't been on the board that long, they had been giving us, I believe, $10,000 a year. And during COVID, it wasn't spent. So we decided to reduce our ask and use up the money that's in the bank rather than just keep stockpiling it. So you'll notice that our bottom line, the ending balance, is going down, which is fine. It's fine. It's not sustainable, but it's fine for now because we don't need to have a ton of money in the bank. We just need to cover our expenses. So I think we're in a pretty good position. Interest, of course, is actually increased. I got a note from Advantis that our account is going to get a little bit more interest. Again, it's not a huge amount, but everything helps, right? And that's my summary of the approved budget for 2024 and the forecast for 25, 26, 27. Does anybody have any questions about this?
Carol, I might add that it was really appreciated by Ann Mercereau and Maria too, I think a little bit, that instead of having this big surplus, I mean, certainly our organization doesn't need $15,000 to $20,000 in the bank.
Right.
So that we had reduced from that $10,000 to $12,000 annually down to $5,000 until we burn off the surplus.
Right.
And this forecast, we reminded them that needs to start coming back up.
Mm-hmm.
So that top line of contribution by PGE goes from $5,000 to $7,000 to $9,000 to $11,000.
Right.
And Anne said, well, she can't guarantee, the complete future, but that was appreciated that we had reduced it, and then we'll start climbing back up.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Hey, Carol, I've got just a quick question.
Yeah.
I appreciate the challenges of moving from a fiscal year, as we've had in the past, to now calendar years going forward. I'm just wondering how you dealt with that transition within this sheet. In other words, so for example, I'm looking at the beginning balance in 2024. It's a projection, obviously, but the 18,000.
Yeah.
Does that reflect a full forecast of the rest of the monies to be spent for the next, couple months until we get to the end of this year?
Yes.
It does. Okay. Is that reflected in that yellow column of actuals, or is that a combination of actuals and forecast? For
the actual is my projection for the end of the year. The winter holiday luncheon, for example, that's the biggest number there. That is based on what we spent last year. And that was after the attendee copay of $15 each, and the facility rental and the meals and the Two Bit Brothers entertainment and the supplies that were needed in order to get the holiday lunch completed. The poinsettias that were on the table and got handed out to people that were at the tables, all the pieces that went together, that's that total. So we're projecting it's going to be pretty similar.
Got it. Well, thank you for that. I was just curious as to how you handled that transition.
Yeah, it was trying to figure it out was a little interesting. So let's just say we've got another month and a half, and then we're going to start off fresh for 2024. And it should be a lot cleaner going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I like the move.
Yeah.
It also put us on the same calendar year budgeting cycle with PGE, which I think is helpful. We always try to meet with Anne and or Maria May, June, July, get into the front end of their budget cycle. So that's kind of where we do that. And it's been very, I think, good for the relationship. Well, that's my alert dog is now telling me there's a FedEx delivery. right.
Ed, I'm not sure what the next page is. Is that the income statement? Is there one there?
I'll bring one up. I've got one ready, Carol. Hang on a
Okay,
second.
great.
That while he's doing that pie chart that snapped up there really quickly, we also showed them a pie chart of where we spend our money. And the admin slice is very small, and it's always important as a nonprofit to know, well, what is your admin costs? And they don't want to see 60% is admin. So that's why that pie chart was there, and it shows that we have very low overhead. The biggest expense administratively is the website, and we have the insurance for the board. But that was another aspect of showing our major funder that we have pretty low overhead.
Yeah.
Carol, you see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is as of the end of October. I put some notes there so you can get some idea of where things are and why there's nothing for, let's say, retiree assistance. When we had approved the 2022 budget, there had been money in there for retiree assistance. After long discussion with the comms committee, the communications committee, it was decided that there really hasn't been a need for that. So the money was moved. There are also some other notes in there on what the cost includes.
And these are posted on the website. Is that right, Ed? I think that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
So the function of our website is like a public library to a large extent, so that we have a lot of transparency. Greg and I and this team are really all about being transparent, and that's partially why that website is very handy.
Right. And you're going to see more change in the November statement as people are registering for the holiday party and paying online through PayPal. We're getting, we have one transfer so far, which I don't have up on the screen, but we've received about $400 transferred from PayPal. That does have a reduction of the fees that are charged on PayPal by PayPal and by certain people's own banks. So if you're using a credit card that's issued by your bank or another financial institution, they generally charge 2 to 3% transaction fee as well.
It's about it's between 3 and 4% by the time somebody buys a ticket for $15, and what comes into our bank is less the 3 to 4%.
Yeah, and actually it's about 6%. I just downloaded this morning and ran the number. It looks like it's about 6%.
Yeah, the smaller the transaction, the higher percent. It's a fixed fee from PayPal.
Yeah.
So we should probably charge $100, and then it'll look a lot better.
Well, on the other hand, if we want to work down the fee, the amount in our bank account, we won't increase the fee. Although that's something we should talk about for next year, because $15 for a meal at the Monarch Hotel, it's really a bargain. It's really a bargain. Okay. Any questions on the income statement? And if anybody wants to see the actual transactions, that's posted on the website as well in the Excel worksheet.
All right. Thank you, Carol.
Okay.
Any other questions about the annual report? Cool. Is Ann, Ed, you're going to let us know when Ann gets on board?
Certainly, yeah. We're still early, John. I think it was scheduled for 11. We're about 15 minutes before she was anticipated to join.
Okay, cool. Well, then let's go around the room, solicit input from all attendees relating to PGE. This board, quite often, we need to be expressing our giving feedback, I guess is the best way to put it. So I'd like to just kind of go around the room and see what people think of how we're doing as a PGE retirees.organization. So this isn't about Portland General Corporate. This is about our organization. So I'd like to kind of go around the room. Tom Burkham, why don't we start with you? What's your feedback to us?
Well, unfortunately, my feedback would be that I'm not participating as much as I probably should, but mostly because of my ignorance and how do I get a hold of the people that are making wine or the people that are gardening or so forth and so on.
Okay.
That'll be my only question I would have.
Hmm. Okay.
That's a good observation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go to Mr. West.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have to say, I appreciate everything that this group does. I mean, there's so many things, and, you know, retirees, we move away from workday and we leave our friends at work, but then we come to our retiree and we get to see some of our friends that we've known at work. And then I've learned and known a lot more people that I didn't even know at work, you know. And it's been a real treat to be able to come and attend and be on these Zoom meetings. I just have to express my appreciation to everybody that works so hard to keep this group going.
Well, that's good feedback. Like I said, we are exploring, so we never know what's going to work and what doesn't. So thank you. Gretchen.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I do appreciate this too. I enjoy the camaraderie. I like the getting together. The picnic was wonderful. I didn't go don't think I attended the year before, but this year it was really good. I think it could have been a little more organized. Everybody left so quickly after we ate, so that was kind of hard, but I can't do as much as I would like to do because of medical issues, but I do enjoy the gardening. And I wish we could meet in person sometimes other than just those two items, you know, because I can't do the hiking anymore. And, you know, the sports, I can't do that physically. But y'all are doing a great job. I appreciate it too, because of the same things that I like. I miss my coworkers. And I know that a lot of them that are retired are not participating as much, and that's kind of sad, but I get to see some people that I maybe not met in person, but I recognize their names because I've communicated at work on email. So it's like, oh, that's you. I know your name, you know. So that's good, but you guys are doing such a great job. And I did have a question. Does PGE know, like, does Anne know that we're a unique group and that other companies don't have this? I mean, it kind of reflects on PGE itself that we would want to continue to, you know, to meet and have this group. I think it's great, and I'm so happy that y'all are doing this.
Greg, you want to give your perspective? Do they understand the uniqueness?
Oh, I think I know they do. Actually, I shouldn't say I think they do. they see that's part of our discussion every year with Van and Leanne and Maria, is that they appreciate the fact, well, they view us as, you know, we built the organization. I mean, our hard work and our commitment to PGE over many years has made PG what it is today. And so I think they're very, very happy that we are continuing as retirees in this role of a mutual advocacy role. So yes, I think they recognize it and they support it. And so the key is to continue to, you know, to make that known to them and remind them of that, so that we can continue our relationship. So yeah, it's definitely there.
Thanks for the question, Gretchen, on that. I just want to get back to what you said about the hiking and stuff. Can you think of anything that you would be interested in creating or helping out in creating a new group for people in your situation? I'm thinking first off about the travel group, because Deb Scheller has that, and they meet at like Bob's Red Mill, and that's not a physical activity. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you think of something else that might be good for folks in your situation, let us know so we can help get a new group started that might be beneficial to more people.
Yeah, I don't know what the interest would be. I mean, I do a lot of crafts. I know that Carol does, you know, quilting, and I'm trying to do some quilting. I just visited Arizona, and my sister-in-law does quilts, and she told me, you know, bring an empty suitcase and then go in my craft room and take what you want. And I said, don't tell me that. I have so, but I'll think about it, because I don't know what the interest would be, and I don't know how I would do it, but I'll think about it.
There are also a lot of luncheons that are happening throughout the region. I think that, you know, if that's something that interests you, but I don't want to interrupt here, except that I want to learn how to play Mahjong. Is there anybody on the call that would be interested in that? Because I've tried to play it a couple of times, and I love games. I'd be up for a game thing, you know, a board game.
That sounds interesting.
Anyway,
yeah.
So, I don't know.
We had a Mahjong lunch and learn several years ago, and I was one of the trainers.
Oh, okay.
I'm rusty. I haven't played in a while, but I've got an antique set made from ivory and bamboo that belonged to my
Okay, well,
grandmother.
so we're going to put you on the spot, Carol. You and I'll talk, and maybe we'll get something at least thought through. So
yeah.
Awesome.
I think that has some legs to it. There are online versions of some of these games. I know you could do Texas Hold'em online. I assume you could probably do Mahjong online. So you could have people from far off playing games together. It's kind of a really interesting concept. I like that a lot. Let's look into that. Let's move on real quickly. Judy, I'm interested in your perspective. You always have a look at things differently than I do, and I appreciate that. What do you think?
I think that when we started this organization, we had no clue what we were doing. And we created this knowledgeable, fun, far-reaching, with a website, with communications, with people who are actively involved and liked meeting the people that they used to work with. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's going forward, I think it's going to be hard. It's a lot of work. And so recruiting is going to be difficult. And but with people like Jay Tinker coming on and Steve taking a bigger role, and I think the interest that you and Greg have managed to keep alive with Maria and Anne says a lot for what we're doing. And it's interesting when you think about our careers and how different it is from the people who are working at PGE now, and what a different kind of a culture company it is. It'll be very interesting going forward what they all want to do. They don't have the family knowledge, and they don't particularly know the history that we all know because they didn't work themselves through the centennial. They didn't work themselves through all of the family. My dad worked here, and I know that PGE is working really hard to do that. So I think there's we did a lot of work. I think it's great, and I'm hoping that other people take up the mantle as we go forward.
Cool.
It's fun.
John,
Actually.
thank Judy. If I may, John, there are a lot of people whose faces aren't visible. So you might want to call on some of them that may or may not be visible to you.
That's exactly where I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I see names like Aria, I see Bill Casey, Dennis, Jim Johnson, Preston.
Yeah.
Darlene Lynn. There's a C-A-N-A-D, Canad. Don't know who that is. If it was Conrad, I'd know who that is. But is there anyone else?
That's Ann Cunningham. Sorry, I need to change the name.
Well, I'm opening up the floor, so I'm asking for feedback, things we can do. So Ann, why don't you go ahead and what do you think? What have you seen?
Hi, everyone. It's good to see everyone's faces and names. I am really enjoying the pickleball get together. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm really enjoying the pickleball get together. I love something active to do, and we normally meet in Tualatin, and there's like no matter what the weather is, we're able to play. And that's a lot of fun. I was at the picnic group. I want to echo Terry. A game group would be super fun.
Cool.
Love to play games. And there's several other groups that I just haven't joined that I have a big interest in the travel group and the book group. And I just need to make the effort to join. But I love this group, like PGE, who I have nothing but good things to say about. I have nothing but good things to say about this group. I think it is fabulous.
Sounds like we have a new initiative to come up with online gaming.
Or in-person gaming too.
Or in-person games. Bill Casey, Dennis Klein, Jim, Preston, anybody else want to jump in? Aria, you're muted. You're muted, Aria. We can't hear you.
There we go.
There we go.
Hopefully you can hear me now. Yeah, I'm muted when I don't want to, and I'm unmuted when it just works that way. So you guys have done a fabulous job of keeping us in touch with changes that are happening at PGE. I also feel that the retiree group is a liaison group with what PGE does. So the monthly newsletters and all of that is fabulous. One of the things that I see, I participate in Facebook. So a lot of times I see questions that come out in Facebook from folks that is, especially at this time of year when you have to re-up your insurance and don't understand how VIA works and all of that. It might be good to have an annual process for information. I don't know if that exists or not. So that might be another one to add to the list for folks, especially if they're coming on new as retiree. That would be beneficial. But I've been retired 2 years and I've really enjoyed the retiree group. It's been fantastic.
Cool. So is Ann Mercer on, Ed?
It looks like it, John.
Well, Ann, welcome. And why don't we cut to that? That's a good timing. And if you have any feedback and holiday messages for this board and the people attending.
Oh, wait. I just got a message that Ann Mercer can't get on the call. The Zoom link won't let me in.
Yeah, I got that same message. She emailed us, John.
Oh.
So Leanne's on.
Leanne's on. There she is.
Hi, I just sent her another link to see if it would work for her, the one that I had.
Thank you, Leanne.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. See if it works.
And well, as Anne tries to get on board, Leanne, how have you been? We keep trying to get you, raises and accolades for what you do for us.
I thought you were going to say you keep trying to get me to be retired, which I'm working on it.
Well, hey,
I was going to say, you retired with me.
there she.
I think Anne's
There we
coming
go.
in. I think she's in.
Well, now,
Oh, yay.
yay, Anne's
There
here.
she is.
You're muted. Jazz hands.
Hi, I'm so sorry.
Hi, Anne.
That's okay.
I'm thrilled that you could break in and spend a little time with us. We've just been going around the room and have a couple of new ideas that we want to take on. So welcome. And is there any message you want to leave with us, or gee, we wish you do what?
Well, I mean, I have a couple of things prepared. I think, do you have a hard stop at noon? Is that right?
We don't. We're retired, Ann.
Don't rub it in.
We don't have hard starts. We don't have hard stops.
You take as long as you want. No problem.
We're just happy you're able to join us, Sam.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I sent you guys a desperation email, so you can ignore that the link in my appointment didn't work, and then Leanne sent me a link that works. So I'm glad I was able to get on. So just a couple of things, and then I'll get to the question, John. I just want to do a couple of updates. First of all, I kind of want to address the elephant in the room with regard to our 2024 rate case. This rate case has been the biggest rate case we've had in decades, and we know that the impact of these costs on our community employees and to all of you is something that the company doesn't take lightly. And we're going to continue to focus on managing costs for customers while making the necessary investments in safety and reliability and resiliency of the system. And one part of the rate case, if you didn't hear, was the change to the employee and retiree discount rate to 15%. We did push hard to keep the full discount in place, but ultimately the OPUC didn't agree with that and decided to reduce it. They actually wanted it at 0, and we were able to sort of get them to agree at least to keep it at 15%. And I just want you to hear from me that, we value everyone, our employees and our retirees, and the work you're doing. And we're all just really, disappointed by this outcome. I am grateful that we can still offer it. I know a lot of retirees have had to, or not retirees, a lot of utilities have had to give it up over the years. And so I'm happy that we still have it, but I'm disappointed that it was reduced. So I wanted to say that because I know it could be top of mind for people. What I wanted to share on a more positive note are some of the things that are happening around the company. And first and foremost is, you've probably heard, if you've watched the news at all, there's a lot of federal grant money out there, and we've been working hard to try to tap into that on behalf of our customers. So those federal tax credits and the grants and incentives that are out there from the IRA and the IIJA. And so a couple of things about that. One is we've already applied for over $300 million in investments. It's not to say we've received $300 million, but we've applied for $300 million. But we have received some grants already. And one of them that's super cool that I wanted to highlight is this partnership that we're going to do with the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, which is going to allow for upgrades to the Bethel Brown Butte transmission line and bring some amazing clean energy investments and workforce opportunities to the region. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. Another thing that we're going to continue to target is the 2030 Clean Energy Plan, which, if you recall from House Bill 2021, we have a mandate, and it was our goal already, right, to reduce to 80% by 2030 and then 100% emissions free by 2040. And so we're continuing to procure resources for that. There's a clean water wind farm in Montana that will come online at the end of the year, and we continue to look for ways to bolster reliability and resource adequacy while we make that transition, because it's not super easy to do both at the same time. We also announced construction of 3 large battery projects around our service territory, and we have an RFP out in 2024 that we hope will bring additional fruition in that area. And then we're doing some things with customers so everyone can play a role. So things like solar panels, home batteries, and some energy efficiency programs to come. So I wanted to kind of say that's a little bit on the organization side, like some of the cool stuff that's going on, and then a little bit about workforce demographics. And certainly if you're interested in hearing more about this, I can talk about, I'm going to come for the holiday celebration. And if you want me to go into more depth in that forum, I don't know if that's the right forum to get into some of this stuff, but always happy to talk about whatever you think the group is interested in. So just some things that as we've sort of imagined where we're going in 2030, we've done a lot of work internally to say, you know, what's it going to take workforce wise to get us there. And we've been working really hard to bring on a more diverse workforce. As you know, we've talked about that in the past. And we're now at a point where 24% of our workforce identifies as BIPOC or Black, Indigenous people of color, and 25% of that population are in our leadership pool. So we actually have more in our leadership pool at 25%. When we look at our community and our statistics, when we say we want to mirror what our community looks like, that statistic right now is sitting at 28%. So we're just below sort of when we look at the overall statistic for Oregon. That doesn't take into account the census data, which we're still waiting to get back, which we think will refresh some of Oregon's numbers, but that's the current data that we have available. And then 33% of our workforce is female, and then 35% of our leadership identify as female. Our turnover, which is really an interesting number, in 2021, our turnover was at 11%, which was right at industry. When we benchmark ourselves against the utility industry, and we were right at benchmark with other utilities. This year, we are forecasting that we're going to end the year at 8 to 9% turnover. And we haven't seen it that low since 2016. So pretty interesting. And, I'm grateful to see our turnover at a sort of significantly lower number. I think our workforce is kind of settling in. We did a lot of new hiring sort of mid to late COVID. There were sort of people were getting, I think, they talked about the workforce, the great workforce shuffle, et cetera. And so we saw a little bit of movement during that period of time. And I think people are really settling in. And then if you're curious, the average age of a PGE employee is 44.9. Average age. I wish I could say I was still 44.9, but time marches on. 18% of our workforce is eligible to retire, meaning they're 55 years old and 5 years of service. So while 18% sounds like, oh my gosh, that's a huge number, we know that most people don't retire at 55 and 5, but that is when somebody is eligible officially for retirement. And then our average length of service is over 10.5 years. And then the last thing I wanted to share, and some kind of interesting, information about workforce, is the positions we're hiring for because of the changes that are happening in our industry. So we have roles that we're hiring for right now around solar interconnection specialists because of the work that's been going on in the solar space. We're hiring data scientists, not the easiest position to go and find, but it's super, super important, particularly with the advent of artificial intelligence. Business developers. So how are we supporting and growing key industrial and commercial sectors in our region? Grid and market analysts, transmission development strategy analysts, and regional integrations and systems evolution. So as the grid changes and we have a bi-directional grid, really looking for people that have background in that area to help us build what we call our virtual power plant. And I think Larry, when he comes with me in December, is going to talk about the virtual power plant and what that means and how we're imagining that. So that's just a little bit of catch up on what's been happening around the company. And then, John, you had asked me about, what do I see in terms of this group, et cetera. And I think, you know, the work you guys have done on the newsletter and the web page and the Facebook pages are really, really great tools to help your community to stay connected and to help PGE stay connected to the retiree community. It's fantastic what you guys have done in the last few years. And I love that you continue to expand the clubs that are available for people. So I just learned last time I talked to John about the pickleball and book club groups, which have formed, which I think are really important ways for us to form a sense of connection and community, which I think personally is really important right now. I think people feel a sense of upheaval in the world, or some people do, and feels a little scary and, you know, unpredictable. And I think having connection with others and people that you care for is more important than ever before. So I just want to say, keep going. I think that work you're doing to engage and figure out ways to engage new and different retirees is really, really important. And I'm grateful that you guys are leading that charge. And then just thank you for letting me come and speak to you all. And thank you for always the invite to the holiday party. I always look forward to it. And it's always a fun time to get to connect and see people in person. I'm glad we're back in person again. We're not in person today at PGE because we have protests planned for downtown. So they asked us not to be downtown, but normally we're kind of back in person, also hybrid. So anyway, I'll pause. That was a lot, and I got it right to noon. But I wanted to make sure that I shared all of that with you.
Well, I'm thrilled that you joined us today. I think a lot of information can be shared again at the holiday luncheon. I think the broader audience would appreciate that.
Yeah.
And just thrilled to have you here. And one of the questions that popped up before you came on was people asking, are you aware of the uniqueness of having a retiree group that's a nonprofit and it does what we do? When you work with other companies and other industries as an officer, do you view that as unique in the world of retirees?
Well, I'll share that mostly what I've seen in my past is that it's been done really informally, and when it's done informally, it doesn't the likelihood of it being sustainable, you know, starts to go down because it's really tied to a specific person. And so if that person decides they don't want to do it anymore, or, you know, they're kind of done with it, then the organization doesn't continue to thrive. And so I think when you put more structure in place, like you guys have done, and have governance and officer roles and things like that, I think you have a much greater chance of sustaining the organization, and like what you all have done in terms of expanding it. So, you know, you're adding clubs and you're adding new members and creating connections for people that I don't think happen quite as easily with organizations where I've seen it done where it's just informal, like, you know, sort of a alumni group or what have you. And typically with those, they end up being more about helping the organization just focus on recruiting, which of course I love. If you can make recommendations to us for people, we of course always love to get that from you all. But this really is about all of you and your well-being, and you know, enjoying this time that you've you know, worked so hard for. So I give you thumbs up for putting that structure and framework in place, because I just think you'll continue to be successful because of that, versus if you just sort of rely on, oh, this is Terry's group, or oh, this is John's group. So yeah, it's great. It's really, really great.
Cool. Anybody else have questions for Ann? Come on, this is the time.
I just wanted to say that appreciate getting the monthly news from PGE from Sarah Boyd. And we post that and on our website and also on Facebook. And one of the things that I found was really cool was the pole-mounted EV chargers. Is that a pilot program, or are you guys rolling that out? That seems like a really neat idea moving forward.
Yeah, you'll continue to see more and more programs, and we'll try different things vis-a-vis EV, because we're trying to build out that infrastructure. So more to come on that. And good to see you, Ed, by the way.
Well, you'll also see that Jay Tinker's on board. He and Minhan Tran have joined the board. So we have some
Awesome.
blood.
That's great. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Ann, how are you?
Good, good.
Good. Hey, I'll just add something to what you mentioned. And you were talked a little bit about the clean energy investments that the company's making, has made, and will continue to make in order to meet the clean energy targets or goals 2030 and 2040. One thing I'll add is I think the company filed for Clearwater, to change rates, and they actually proposed to lower rates. So it's a nice example of a win-win where we can move the company towards a more decarbonized state and actually potentially at least lower rates, depending upon the outcome of that at the commission. But that's a nice thing. It's like a win-win in that particular case as well.
Thank you for adding that. That's good.
I'd just like to say, thank you for your hard work in protecting the discount. I remember when I retired, we didn't think it was going to last back in the 2000s. I mean, we had we thought it was going to go. None of us expected it in 2023. It would still be around. So having it still around, even at a reduced rate, is phenomenal, I think. So thank you for your dedication to employees and retirees, and thinking that was an important thing to fight for. I'm just in awe that it's still here.
Thanks, Judy.
Well, I'll ask another question. How's Leanne doing?
Yeah, Leanne, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. I'm looking forward to the holiday party too. And I have presents. So we have the
Oh yeah, well, we always do the drawing for some of the PGE labels.
PGE swag to give away. Yep. We'll have some of that. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Is the venue the same this year? I have it on my calendar, but I forgot to look at the venue.
Yes, that Monarch Hotel area.
Okay.
It's pretty centralized.
Yeah.
It's not downtown, but you can't get anywhere without having some freeway issues lately. But Monarch's pretty central to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's easy to get to.
Yeah. The menu is the salmon and the chicken. And
I already made my selection.
Yeah.
I just didn't know where I was gonna actually eat it.
We'll save you a seat at the front, okay?
Okay, that's awesome.
All right. Any other, Greg, you got any fun questions for Ann? I see Carol has.
Yeah, so Ann and Leanne, will you be bringing any other officers besides Maria with you?
Oh,
I think
So-
Larry.
Yeah, Larry's coming. Larry Beckett is coming. And
Great.
Maria is not able to make it. I think she's actually out of town. She's traveling all the time these days back to DC. She's actually the chair and incoming chair of both EEI and EPRI. So she is quite busy these days.
Wow.
Greg, you were going to say something?
No, I wasn't. I was not really. I think everyone's asked all the right questions, and thank you for being here. It's always good to see your face and connect with you. It kind of reminds me of the old days when I was working to see your face. So it's good to have you here.
Hey, Ian, I've got a quick question. I know PG's hired a couple of new executives here just in the last, 6 months or a year or so. Ben and then Joe. How are they doing in their transition to PGE, and what is their primary focuses at this point?
Oh, that's a great point. So in April, we hired Ben Felton, who is our Chief Operating Officer. And the reason, so when Brad Jenkins decided to retire, we kind of took a pause and said, okay, how do we want to think about his position? So recall that Brad had T&D and generation. And part of the board of directors charge to Maria was, you need a successor so that if something happens, you get picked off by a competitor, you decide to leave, whatever, we aren't left hanging high and dry. And that is one of the most important responsibilities a board has, is to make sure there's a CEO successor. So we decided that when we embarked on that search, we would look for a chief operating officer. So we hired Ben. He's fantastic, and hopefully he'll come one of these times and you'll have a chance to meet him. But he came from DTE in Detroit. and he's making a remarkable impact on the organization. He's very execution oriented and is bringing just this incredible level of rigor to the organization. We tucked a lot of the organization under him, so he would get a lot of experiences. And frankly, he's used to having a lot of responsibility. So anything that's, I'll say, sort of operations oriented, that's something you're executing against versus like a strategy group, anything like that's executionable type work goes to him. So we have the corporate functions, like think HR, legal, communications, those all still remain intact as they were. And then Larry Beckedahl's organization is really around strategy. So think about the advanced energy delivery. So all the grid stuff, like modernizing that grid, is in Larry's org. And then everything else is pretty much under Ben, and he's doing a phenomenal job. And then we hired this summer when Jim Magello, our CFO, announced his retire. So recall that we hired Jim Magello when Jim Lobdell retired, and we knew that we wouldn't have Jim Magello for a long time, but we really wanted to bring in a very seasoned CFO because we had just come off of that energy trading loss, and we needed somebody that had the confidence of Wall Street, frankly, and that, you know, could bring this level of experience and maturity to the organization, which is exactly who Jim Magello is. So it was great. We loved having Jim, and he was with the organization for 2.5 years, I think. And so it gave us time to kind of stabilize things. And then we did a search, and we brought on board Joe Turpic, who just recently joined us. And Joe is just getting his legs under him. He's moving. He's in the process of moving from Chicago. Well, he's already moved, but his wife is in the process of moving from Chicago and relocating. And I guess I should say that the same is true of Ben. Like his family, he has a high schooler who will graduate at the end of this year. And so anyway, both are very much in transition. And we picked up Joe from Exelon, and he was their chief accounting officer, and he just brings a wealth of experience and is just doing such a great job for the company. He's already has 2 earnings calls under his belt, which he had to come up to speed on pretty quickly. And so lots of goodness there. But yeah, it's pretty interesting, Jay, you know, having two new officers on the floor. And you know, our team's not that big to begin with. There's 9 of us if you count Maria. And so, you know, it's a pretty significant piece of change for the organization, and really good change. Like I love both those guys, and really am enjoying working with them.
Well, that's great, and congratulations on those hires. I've heard good things from others about both of them as well.
Well, I was thinking about, I have to do my self-evaluation and turn it into Maria today. And I was like, why am I going to put that down?
You gotta take credit for it, you know.
That's right. I mean, it was a lot of recruiting. You got to convince the whole family to do the move. It's not just about the person, you know.
Well, thank you, Ann. It's like I said, we talked before you got on board how important the relationship we think between our organization and PGE, and Leanne and you and Maria have been just wonderful. I'll plant an idea in your mind. In fact, I think I can go back and produce an agreement we did real early on, that every once in a while we could host one of our board meetings in your boardroom.
Yeah.
So that maybe we could meet some of these people. Greg and
I.
Oh,
that's a great idea.
So maybe we'll put that on the radar screen, that might be something fun to do next year. To find a time when you guys aren't in the middle of something, which is probably pretty rare, but it'd be kind of fun to have a get to know your retirees organization, and we could get to meet some of these new officers.
Yeah, let's plan on that. That sounds fantastic.
All right, great. Well, in my delegation here, I'll put that on Greg's list.
All right. Well,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say thank you so much for your time, and I've got a 12:30, so I'm gonna roll off if that's all right, so I can get ready for that. And good to see you all, and I'll hopefully see you next month.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You.
Well, Leanne, thank you for managing Anne very well.
Hey, I got her here. Okay.
Thank you for so many things, Leanne. Really.
You're welcome. Glad to help.
All right.
Forward to
Anything
see you
else
guys in
that you
person.
have from your point of view about, we were going around the room going feedback to us about what we're doing and what maybe we're not doing. We had a wonderful idea about maybe some gaming type of groups to learn Mahjong or some other stuff. Anything you see from our point of view that we could be doing or not doing?
No, I think kind of to echo what Ann said, all the things that you're doing to communicate with retirees with the Facebook page and just getting them the website. The website's fabulous, by the way. It's very professional looking. So I think it's great. Yeah, no, I think you guys are doing a good job.
We've had several people that had to learn the what WordPress is and how to do things. It's been a wonderful experience. Also, it keeps us learning new stuff. We just went through how to put a form online, so we now take credit cards when they pay for the tickets.
Nice.
For the holiday season. So Carol actually set up a PayPal account. We're all learning new stuff.
That's great. No, it's good. Keeps your mind sharp.
And if I can add to that, we're all learning new things, and we're also welcoming anybody who wants to join us, making this fabulous organization happen. So anybody else on the call, if you are interested in becoming part of the communications team or eventually sitting on one of the other committees or joining the board or whatever, please let us know, because we're so excited to have Jay and Minhong as new board members, but we'll take any kind of volunteer for anything at any time. So just wanted to.
So in
Maybe have a sign up at your holiday party, have a little table or something set up about that. Maybe some of the retirees that don't get on the calls don't know about it. Might be a good way to kind of showcase what you do.
So based on what Ann said, Leanne, I have something that I would like to ask you and Ann about. Is she mentioned 18% of the workforce is eligible for retirement, meaning 55 years and older with 5 years of seniority.
Right.
How would we get a message to those 18% of the workforce? How can we reach out? Do we show up at a meeting? Do we get published in your newsletter that, hey, the retirees organization, go visit their website? Can you put your thinking cap on in the future and let Greg and I know how can we reach out to that 18% other than just a checkoff box on the retiree form?
Yeah, I mean, we have it. We have the information on our Leaving PGE retirement webpage. We have the information about the organization.
I guess my point
also
is,
said most people that are 55 and 5 aren't actually retiring at this point. They're still working, and so they're not even really thinking about it. But yeah, we can think about how we might get it out there more.
well, my impetus isn't that they're retired. It's that they can join this group. They don't have to be retired to be on our distribution and be invited to pickleball and invited to these activities. It's not exclusive to just retirees. We early on said, no, if you're in retirement window, you can join then. Why not?
Okay.
So that's where I was headed is, well, they don't have to be retired to be part of our network and our activities and that kind of thing.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
It's free and it's subscribing. So anyway, that's my thought. Anything else, folks?
Well, we could have a little article in Newsline, maybe.
Well, that's what I was thinking is something to get plugged in that, but you may want to go visit the website or whatever, that they could participate in activities. We can just around activities as part of their newsletter would be great.
Yeah. Let me think about it. And I could maybe work with Sarah too to think about some ideas.
All right. Then next on the agenda is that we have the December 11th board meeting. election of new officers. We have new board members now, but then once a year you go through and go, okay, I volunteered to move on and have someone else come on as president, and all those officer positions are different than board members. And then on the 12th is the holiday luncheon, and there's lots of fun activities planned. The only plan I've nixed that we don't want to do is someone had the idea of giving Anne a Christmas present of a lump of coal, but I nixed that idea.
Good.
Greg, how could you?
Yeah, right.
Lynn and Stan, I think you had a question back.
I just, not a question, I just wanted to remind those people that we have garden group, 1 o'clock on Wednesday.
Oh, cool.
And come thinking about ideas of how you want to decorate for the holidays.
Oh, cool.
Well, and I want to put a plug in for the book group because we're meeting December 7th and we're reading a book written by a former employee. And Steve, do you want to just mention it really quickly? Steve West, our fearless leader.
He's trying to figure out how to unmute.
Oh,
You're-
yes,
you're-
I had to unmute. Yeah, well, we're reading a book. It's written by a former employee who worked, I think, until about 1995. He spent about 20 years at PGE, and he was an area supervisor, and his name is Chuck Costo. And Chuck wrote a book called After the Bomb. And so it's a very exciting book about what happens if, in fact, we have a major crisis and only a few people are left to survive. And so I'm halfway through, but
Pretty riveting.
it's very interesting if you're a survivalist. And I guess I started my trek on survival at PGE when we had people come in with seminars talking about what happens if we have a massive earthquake. And of course, we experienced a massive ice storm. So we know what it was like to have a large scale out of power situation. But Chuck's book is interesting because he talks about all the people and all the skills they need to survive and how they develop a group and how they work as a team. So it's interesting. If you want to read it, look for After the Bomb by Chuck Costo.
Great, thanks.
All right, well, if there is nothing else, I'll declare the meeting over at 12:23.